Hello. Hello, everybody. If you can let me know in the chat box if you can hear me okay. I just don't want to start and it be very and you not be able to hear me. So let me know if you can hear me. I'll just type in the chat box. See if you can find that little chat box and let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Q&A. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear me. I do not want to start speaking and you not be able to hear. Okay, thank you. Right. Now, just go out of that. All right, welcome everybody. Let's get started. So, welcome to the Reading Roadmap, 5 Steps to Jumpstart Your Child's Reading Success. And thank you so much for committing for the next 60 minutes. I am going to give you a whole lot of value and over deliver for you. And you will come away with a little bonus activity at the end that I will be sharing with you. So stick around to the end because I have something for you that I will be sending to you. Now, I'm Zoe, if you don't know me. I am a primary school teacher. I have a master's and a bachelor's of primary education. I'm a mum of 2 beautiful children. I have a 1-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. I am a former kindergarten teacher. Yes, I'm from Brisbane, Australia, so it's called prep here, but I know around the world it might be called kindergarten, reception, prep. Don't you love it when they call all different things all around the world? So I want to welcome you. I want to know, where are you from today? So I have this fancy little option of a poll. So let me see if it will pop up for you. Now let's see. Launch that, might pop up. So you can type in, where are you located? I would love to know where you're from. I did a live on Instagram a few weeks ago, and it was so wonderful to see that so many people were joining in from all different areas of the world. It is really special. Okay. Isn't it fun when when you can't see the answers pop up? I would love to be able to read them. Oh, few details. Here we go. No, that's not right. Um, let's see if we can share results. Does it say? No. Okay. Oh dear. Well, don't you love technical difficulties, hey? All right. Now, let's go to the next slide. So when I was 10 years old, it was a dream come true for me. I watched this movie, The Parent Trap. I'm not sure if you've ever watched it before, but in this movie, The Parent Trap, is about 2 girls who are separated at birth, and they go with either parent, and they reunite at a summer camp in America. And when I was 10, I thought, oh my goodness, I love this movie. So, and I'd always wanted to work in one of the summer camp in America. So I just didn't let go of that idea. And it was just something that I had wanted to do. And when I was 19, I was at university and I was studying to be a landscape architect. That's what I wanted to do. I love being creative and design. And then I went and worked in a summer camp. This is a baby face photo of me at 19. in a wonderful traditional camp in North Carolina. And from working there, I just loved being around children and just felt so calm and at ease and just loved teaching. So, from that opportunity, I just realized that I wanted to be a teacher. So, I came back to Brisbane and studied to be a teacher, did my master's, and spent 10 years in the classroom. And, life changed after having two children. Here's my beautiful kiddos just lounging around with me. And I decided that I wanted to be a teacher in a different way and help parents. So that's really how Educate was born. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions along the way with the webinar, there is a little Q&A box that you can add your questions to, and I have got a designated time slot at the end where I'm going to answer all your questions. If you happen to drop out, or if I drop out, internet, hey, it's always does fun things for us. Just click back into the Zoom link and join back in. If I drop out, that's what I'm going to do as well. Here's hoping that that does not happen. And you're welcome to use the chat box as well. I'm going to be talking, but if I see something pop up, I might have a look at it. Okay. Now, thank you so much for 60 minutes of your time. I know how your time is so valuable. So I want to give you a whole lot of value today. So 10 minutes for the introduction, then I'm going to spend a bit of time doing the 5 steps to jumpstart your child's reading success, and then leave a bit of time at the end for our Q&A and that special little bonus that I have coming for you. Now, I am so glad you're here because, if you have seen any stories in the media recently, or whether it's that you've read it online or seen in the news, that that there needs to be some reform and change within how reading is taught within schools. And I felt that as a teacher as well. And I have learned a whole lot of things along the way, and things that I've discovered that I want to share with you today, because there does need to be some change. And I wish for all children that they don't have to win the teacher lottery to be able to learn to read. And that's why I feel so passionate about helping parents help their children, because really you don't need to be an experienced teacher for your child to learn to read. And I'm going to be sharing why that is. So there are some pretty dismal statistics. Something in the Australian media this week is 1/3 of Australian children are failing to read proficiently, and 67% of fourth graders in the US are reading below grade level. Now, there is a similar story in first world countries all around the world, and it's because schools are using, not all schools, I think there's some change coming, but outdated tactics that I even used in my classroom, because that's how I learned to teach. That's what I was taught at university. But change is coming, and I want to help you and educate you with that change so that you can help your child read fast, because hey, we're all busy. Now, my story is that when I worked predominantly in early years classrooms, in those kindergarten classrooms where they are learning to read and write and count from day one. And, we were working on alphabet sounds. So the letters of the alphabet and the letters that they make sounds, and also these words, like I've got was on on a little card here. And what I learn at university and through teaching is that we put them on flashcards and we memorize them, and we need to learn these high frequency words because we call them high frequency because we see them a lot in books. When we open books, we see these words like, see, and, I, was, my, and sometimes they're not so logical to sound out. So research has suggested in years past that, well, you just memorize them so that it saves a lot of brain power, and that is how children learn. But actually, it wasn't working. And I really discovered that when I was teaching, I was thinking, well, half the class is understanding this and they're retaining it. And then, there's some really struggling readers here who are just not getting it and they're needing so many repetitions. And they might know a word one day and then the next day that they're forgetting it. So it's not creating strong pathways in their brain. And I became quite frustrated with that. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So I went in search of that. And that's really what I want to share with you today. And it wasn't just my frustrations, it was also parents as well. Parents were putting in so much hard work and effort helping their children learn these high frequency words and alphabet sounds and supporting with reading at home, and it just wasn't working for them. And, when things aren't working for us, then we kind of want to give up. We need wins. And that's why I want to share this information with you. So I want to know from you, are you feeling, you can just pop it in the chat box, if your child has started school yet, I do have a poll. Let me see. I'll just pop it in the chat box. Are you feeling really confused about where to start with your child, or overwhelmed at the fact that there's just so many big concepts, and you think, I don't even know what this means. What does phonics mean? What does blending mean? How do I do this? What do I start with? And that can lead to a lot of frustration. And when we're feeling these things, they're not a great feeling. And sometimes our children feel this as well, because being a learner is really hard. So I know that I felt these as well, and sometimes I still do. And that's why I have put in the hard yards in being able to put information in a way that is hopefully going to be able to support you and your child to learn to read quickly. That's based on research. Now, my favorite day of the school year was, there was 2 days every year that the teachers in the school that I worked at were given to do reading testing. Now, it was not my favorite day of the year because we got to do reading testing. It was my favorite day of the year because I got 10 minutes of uninterrupted time talking and listening and learning about the beautiful students that I had. And I was absolutely shocked and also a little bit saddened to know that I learned more about my students in 10 minutes on those days than I did in nearly a term, 10 weeks or more. And it made me realize how powerful a parent's role is in their child's life, because you get that opportunity every single day. Whereas teachers, in my first kindergarten classroom, I had 26 students, and it was very busy. And teachers are not only teaching children the curriculum, but there's also helping children support them emotionally and all those different transitions and any sort of behaviors that arise throughout the day. So their focus is very split throughout the day. And that's why I loved this day, because it was just one-on-one time with each student. And I just learned so much, and I discovered where exactly each child was at and what they needed to focus on. So really that one-to-one instruction from a parent is really so incredibly valuable. Now, there's a few problems in schools, and this is what is still happening in schools. And this is what I learned at university and, in the classroom. These are the things that I did that didn't work for many kids. And that's why I want to share these problems with you today and say, avoid these strategies because, hey, it's actually not going to be supportive, and they're not the most effective strategies. So memorizing words, just like that little flash word, like was or what. If they're a little bit tricky and they're tricky to sound out, oh, just memorize it. It's actually not going to store in their brain, because they might memorize it on one little piece of card, but when they see it written down in a different way, then they might not be able to connect that. Guessing, reading actually has nothing to do with guessing. when they're reading a book, skipping the word if they don't know it and then coming back to it to see if they can try and work it out. Looking at the shape of the word, does it have tall letters like F or L or T? Or, is it a long word or is it a short word? Thinking about the size and how many letters are in there. And then also looking at the picture, sometimes, and these are all guessing techniques, which aren't actually teaching children how to decode, which is thinking about words like little puzzle pieces, and they've got to be able to put those puzzle pieces together. So I've got a little picture here of these little readers, which I've seen before. I've used, they were in my classroom actually. And it was so frustrating for me because I just thought these readers are not actually supporting students to read. They are encouraging children to guess. And we know now that reading has nothing to do with guessing. So on this page, it says, so the book's title, What Can I See? And there's a boy looking at an ant. I see an ant. And that picture is very literal for the child. So when a child's reading this book, a beginning reader, they're probably going to be looking at that picture, and they would have maybe had to memorize those words, I see an, rather than actually looking at those sounds and thinking about what sounds those letters make. And then on the right-hand side of this page, what is really frustrating for me as a teacher, and I always thought, why on earth is this word stone in an A book? If these readers were from A to Z, A being the easiest book and Z being the hardest book, why is the word stone in there when I know if I broke that word down, stone has the long O vowel sound with that magic E at the end. Now I know that the magic E is a more complex sound that they will not learn for nearly 6 months through kindergarten. So why is that in the first A book? And it got me really frustrated on a search for a better way, because when a child would be given this sort of book and it's not easy to decode, then they would have to look at the picture, and their brain might be thinking, and even a parent or teacher might be going, well, they might say, I see a rock, or he sees a rock. They're just talking about the picture. And then they might say, well, hang on, look at the first letter. What else could it be? So it's all about guessing. Now, what children actually need, and parents too, is trustworthy information from science-backed research and playful ways to learn. We know that children learn through play and create those strong pathways in their brain much faster when they're learning through play. So that we really need ready-to-go scripts, plans, and activities, because, hey, when I was teaching in the classroom, that's what I needed too. And of course, you need ongoing support. When those inevitable roadblocks come up, that is what you need. Now, I love this picture of this boy walking along this path. I'm sure we've all walked along paths like this before. And these paths are created from people walking over the top many times over. But I want you to imagine this is your child's brain. And imagine your child's brain is just all lush, beautiful grass. And when they're learning something new, they have to do many repetitions over and back to create that strong pathway in their brain. And when they create those strong pathways in their brain, then that information becomes like muscle memory. I've put that little infinity symbol on the right-hand side because we do need that repetition in our brain. Now, when you do tactics like memorizing, say, for example, memorizing a word on a flashcard, then they may need to see that word on that card over 40 times before they've remembered it. But I'm going to be teaching you a strategy soon that actually teaches kids to learn new words 10 times faster than that, and it's so much more effective. So please keep sticking around for that, and we're going to jump into our 5 steps. Now, reading is a learned skill. Only 5% of children learn to read effortlessly. So if your child isn't a unicorn, please keep listening. I've taught a few unicorns before, and it's really, they don't need that much direct instruction to be able to learn to read. They probably learned to read on their own, and they probably already started school knowing how to read and were reading well above grade level at the beginning of starting school. Now, there aren't many unicorns in the world, and if your child isn't a unicorn, please keep listening because you will need these strategies to help them. Don't forget that if at any point you are stuck on something and want to pop something in the Q&A box, I won't answer it straight away, but I will answer it at the end. So, or you can write it down in case you don't want to forget. Things that don't help your child to read: memorizing once again, guessing, and then a mishmash of activities. I know that in my early days of teaching, I'd see a little fun idea on Pinterest or Instagram. I thought, oh, that looks fun. Maybe that will work. And, fun, beautiful activities might look good and sound good, but is it actually going to be effective? How can we include strategies like, fun, playful activities combined with the skill? That's what I'm all about. And so insert the science of reading. This is what I've discovered. And really, this is, imagine a big warehouse full of 70 years of research from different from brain scans, from brain researchers, social workers, psychologists, educators, speech language pathologists. Imagine 70 years of research from all these professions that have researched children before they've started reading, during when they're learning to read, and after. And really, this is not it's not a curriculum, it's a body of research from all these different professions that have shown brain-friendly and playful ways of learning to read and effective strategies that you can start with your child today. This is what I wish I had when I first started teaching, and what I wish I learned at university, because I know that I would have been able to do my students a lot more justice in learning to read than how we were learned, which was a lot of memorizing and teaching children to get to guess, which is like a whole language model. You might see is so the fancier term for it, which isn't as effective. Now you might feel like a bit of a roadblock and go, well, don't you need to be a teacher to be able to help your child? Absolutely not. From my little story I shared before about my favorite day of the year being reading, all you have to be a willing parent and believe that your child can learn, and just be willing to spend for up to 5 minutes a day doing activities. And 5 minutes a day doesn't need to be sitting down at the dining room table. I'm going to be showing you some activities soon that you can be doing without any resources, and you could even do them with your eyes closed. So that's number one, being a willing parent. That is really the first step to teaching your child to read. And number two is the second step, and you can't skip steps. If you skip steps, then there's going to be gaps and there's going to be holes. Okay. And we're all about creating a strong foundation. So number two is pre-reading skills. So when I talk about conventions of a book, I mean, when your child is holding a book, are they holding it up the correct way? Do they know where the title is? Do they know how to turn the pages from the left over to the right? Do they know that the text, the words on the page, goes from the top down to the bottom, from the left page over to the right page? Do they know where the back of the book is, the spine of the book? So, for example, if your child wasn't really aware of those, or they picked up a book and they were reading it upside down, then you wouldn't want to skip to step 3. You would be wanting to focus on these pre-reading skills. And I do this nearly most days with my son. We do it really quick and easy. And sometimes I, be a bit playful and silly and hold the book up the wrong way to see if he notices. And adding in a little bit of humor to things can be easy. And you can do it really fast and say, point to the front cover, point to the back cover. Where's the spine? The spine keeps the book up nice and strong. And you can even just show with your finger and talk out loud about what your brain is doing and going, I'm going to show you that the words move from this side to this side. It goes from the left over to the right. So I'm going to point to the words as I say them. Okay, watch my finger. It might not feel natural, but with time and doing it every now and again, you can have a little practice and it might feel a little bit less clunky. Now, don't underestimate that listening vocabulary. Children need to be able to have those words that they have heard before many times over stored in their brain, on those strong grassy neural pathways in their brain before they could ever read it on a page. So don't underestimate reading to your child daily and reading to them, speaking with them, and boosting their listening vocabulary. So all those words that they have in their brain. And alphabet sound. So that's step 3. So if you were a willing parent, yes. Number 2, your child had pretty much mastered all those pre-reading skills and the conventions of the book. And you go, yep, I think that they're ready for these alphabet sounds. I have this quote here, which just blows my mind, is that if a child memorized 10 words, then the child can only read those 10 words. But if the child learns the sounds of 10 letters, the child will be able to read 353 word sounds. Now, that is not my quote. That's from Dr. Martin Kozloff. And true story, in my classroom, I had 2 students, and one boy had memorized really quickly 200 words. And within a few weeks, he had forgotten them and needed, they just don't store well in our brain of when we're memorizing words. But another girl who needed a lot of support with her reading, she in time had learned 8 different sounds, and she was actually able to decode words better than the student who had memorized 200 words, because memorizing, as we know, doesn't work. We really want to focus on those alphabet sounds. Now, if your child knows 8 to 10 letters, then they can probably start to be blending those words. So step 3 is learning these letter sounds first. M, A, T, S, I, P, C, F, N, and D are the ones that I suggest first. Do you need to stick to this order? No, you don't. You could start with your child's letter of their first name, but any reading expert would agree that a mix of consonants and vowels are important. Don't skip out on those vowels, because every word in the English language has a vowel. So that's why we need at least 2 or 3 vowels within those first 8 to 10 letters so that we can actually read those words. So that's why A and I are in there. Now, I presume you follow me on Instagram. If you are unsure about how to pronounce those sounds, I did post a video maybe a week or so ago of how to correctly pronounce those letter sounds. Now, insider tip for those roadblocks: if you're thinking that you don't have the time, don't underestimate that 5 minutes per day is 28 hours per year. And I'm going to show you on the next slide an activity that you can do, that you could do in the car, eating breakfast, that you can just do on the go, walking to the park. And it is phonological awareness. Now, phonological awareness, I think, is one of the best kept secrets of learning to read and how powerful it is. It's actually, a child's phonological awareness is actually one of the biggest predictors of their reading success. And I've put a little picture of an ear here, because phonological awareness means about what can you hear. Because remember, if they can't hear the word first, then they're not going to be able to read it. So we start with spoken words. Now, I'm going to show you and give you a demonstration of some activities. Let me see if I can share my picture. Okay. All right. No, let's go back. Oh dear. Oh my goodness. I apologize. All right. Don't you love technical things? Okay, so count the words activity. This is good practice for us to be able to just do it by our ears. So listening to me and counting the words. So if I had a sentence and we want to, before I show you this activity, I've got this little man down here with the little weights, because you've got to go slow at the beginning to go fast, and you've got to go light to go fast. So I'm going to say a sentence or a statement, and you're going to count how many words I have. And you can do this with your child. So if I said, let's go, and you're counting on your fingers maybe, or tapping on the table, let's go. How many? Two words. Now you want to start with 2-word sentences and then build up to 3 and 4. So gauge where your child's at. You can make it fun and think about what your child's doing currently. Let's eat now. How many? 3. Okay. And then build up. Put your shoes on. Say it again. Put your shoes on. And you could even make it fun once they've gotten used to this. They can say a sentence, and then you could count how many there are. So you can take that in terms of being student and teacher. Now, syllable tapping activity. I want you to put your hand underneath your chin, and every syllable, so each word in every syllable would have a vowel in it. Now, a good activity to start is syllable tapping your name. So I would always get my students to put their hand under their chin and say their name. So I'm putting my hand under my chin right now and I'm saying Zoe. And I know my name has 2 syllables. I felt my chin go down and I felt my chin go up. It's like a multi-sensory approach, because when we think about our senses, we're thinking about our taste, our touch, our sight, our ears as well, what we can hear. And by doing this, we can hear it and we can feel it by using our senses. So we can feel the movement in our jaw, and also getting that feedback on our hand. And they can put their hand under their chin and you can model it to them. Because the teaching strategy I used every day in the classroom was this strategy called I do, we do, you do. So I do meaning I'm going to do it first. You're going to watch me. Your eyes are going to be watching what my body is doing. What's my mouth doing? What's my hand doing? What's my lips doing? And you can be explaining that to them. Because whilst it might be logical for us, we actually need to voice that to our kids. And you can be practicing with fun words, whether it could be their name, it could be a toy that they like, a certain character or a TV show, follow their interests and really be guided by them. You can use inspiration from your environment around you and think about words that you can see. So I could do it and count those syllables by looking at the words in the picture. Rainbow. How many? 2. Koala. Koala. 2 or 3. And then another syllable activity. This is my favorite one. Okay, so you're going to use your hands. And what I love about this is it's just all through your ears. You could do this with your eyes closed. You could be driving in your car. Your eyes aren't closed. Please don't close your eyes when you're driving. But if your child's in the car and you're doing a little syllable activity, you could say a word. And I love this one because they tap their wrist, elbow, shoulder, and then head for fourth syllable. So wrist for first syllable, elbow for second syllable, shoulder for third syllable, head for fourth syllable. So it might sound like this. If I went apple, apple, I tapped my wrist for a and my elbow for pull. I'm doing it again. Apple. Okay. Now, if people are watching you right now, they might be thinking, what on earth are they doing, tapping their wrist and elbow? But I can guarantee it is just a very interactive and multisensory way of encouraging and increasing children's phonological awareness. So these are little activities that you could be doing each day just with fun words. Start with one syllable words, then build up to two syllable words. Remember, go slow to eventually go fast. So another word, let's practice elephant. Elephant. I went wrist, elbow, shoulder. It had three syllables. Elephant. Okay, your body is getting that feedback from the tapping. So that's number 4. Number 5, we have got blending letter sounds. Now, on number 3 step was learning those letter sounds, 8 to 10 letter sounds. Now, you're not going to progress on the step unless you're not going to go straight to number 5 unless your child has learned and they've got a bank of 8 to 10 letter sounds that they know and remember because you've created those strong grassy neural pathways in their brain. Then that's a sign that your child's showing, yep, I'm ready to can be starting to blend 2 letter sounds. Now, just like that stepping staircase, you want to take each step at a time. So if they knew one sound, then or a bank of 8 to 10 letter sounds, then you can be starting to put those letter sounds together, like 2 sounds together, blending those, and then 3 sounds. Now, I've put A and T together, and I've got those little dots underneath. And that little arrow, because it's a really helpful visual for children to see and also for us. So if I was teaching a student, I might write this down on a whiteboard, a little mini whiteboard, like an A4 whiteboard, or some maybe 2 bullet tip whiteboard markers would be really handy and cheap resources to have for your child. Just going to have a quick sip of water. Now, if I wrote down at, you would be doing that. I do, we do, you do. So you'll be modeling it to them and going, at, I'm going slow, at, at, at. Okay, so you're modeling that to them. So, and then they're having a go, and you can be doing it. I do it, then you guys could do it and say it together, and then they could have a turn by explicitly modeling it to them many times over with all different combinations. So it could be ip or ick or it. Okay, just using the letters that they have learnt. You would not be introducing letters that they have not learnt. Okay. I do have that freebie of my alphabet flashcards, so you can be learning those letter sounds from that. And I've also got my order there. In my little bonus, I have included the sound order again as well. And then you can be moving on to 3-letter sounds. So this is called a CVC word. Now, you might have heard that before. And if you're not sure what it means C stands for consonant. V stands for vowel. So those 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, or U, the vowels in the middle, and then there's another consonant. And when you're blending, children will generally be quite clunky, and it can generally be a bit of a roadblock that children get to. So blending, don't skip straight to blending, really work on those sounds first, and then do a lot of explicit modeling with blending those letter sounds that they have learned. Now, I did say that I was going to share something that absolutely blew my mind about how to teach sight words 10 times faster than memorizing. And this is my little bonus for you, is this just blew my mind. So typically, these high frequency words are learned in order of frequency that you would find in books. You know, on the right-hand side with where my little cross is, it says I, am, the, he, see, and like. You know, these are the sort of words that they might see in those beginning readers first. But actually, what is more helpful to children and is going to help children learn so much faster is actually grouping tricky words by skill. So this is my little bonus for you. You're going to get a list of, I think, maybe at least 20 words of all the short vowel words, those high frequency words. I've grouped them all together for you. So you can think about those are the words that when you are teaching them, that you would group them together. So rather than just learning one at a time, or, you know, it's what is confusing to kids is when they are learning a word like, see, and I, all in the same week. And then you go, it's just too many different spelling patterns. You know, like has got that magic E, then C has got that long E sound. And then I's got that long I sound as well, but there's no E on there. You know, there's too many spelling skills all at once. Whereas if you're just focusing on one spelling skill, that short I words, then that just makes so much more sense and is more logical, and they will remember things so much faster for them to decode. So grouping those tricky words by skill, because what I mean by short I words is they all have that I. That short vowel, I, makes the I sound like an igloo. But we also know that I can make a long I sound like in ice cream. So we're not focusing on the long I words with the short I words. We're just grouping the short I words together. Now, over here on the sound mapping, when you have those tricky words, and you can use the list from my bonus, is that this is really the way that children are going to learn these words 10 times faster than memorizing by just looking at a flashcard, because we're using our senses. And by using our senses, you know, our physical touch, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, then that is going to be able to anchor to our children's brain that much faster. Now, if we look at this word said is a tricky word for kids. It's a high frequency word. They see it in books quite regularly, but it's not spelled so logically. You know, we sound it out as d. And we think, well, surely it should be spelled S-E-D, but actually the spelling is A-I. Now, what parents and children need is we need all of these words mapped out for us, and we need those scripts so we know what to say and do. You know, we don't want to be fumbling around, searching around, going, I don't know how to explain this to my child. Because I've been there, and it's confusing. It means that we give up a lot easier, or sooner, sorry, than what it needs to be. So I'm all about done for you resources. So when we're sound mapping, it really encompasses 5 things. Now, if you were teaching the word, for example, said to your child, then you would tap it out with them, and you would tap and count how many sounds. Hey, there's that phonological awareness coming back in. That was our 4th step. That phonological awareness is so, so important. So you're tapping it out. You can tap it with me. Tap it on your hand, and tap those sounds. So we're not doing the syllables. We're just doing the sounds. S, e, d. How many sounds did you feel? I tapped my hand 3 times. Let's do it again. S, e, d. Okay, now let's map it. I've got a little picture of a poppet. What kid doesn't love a little poppet? So they're always fun for teaching children to read and adding that to your little toolbox, so they can pop 3 different little spots next to one another. S, e, d. Now we're going to graph it. So that could be on a little whiteboard. You could have the fancy word for this is called an Elkonin box. But we don't really need to know these fancy terms. I just thought I'd share it with you anyway. And there's 3 boxes because we know that there's 3 sounds, and we want to put the letters that make the sound in its separate box. So the S has its own box, the AI has its own box, and the D has its own box. And I put a little heart there because that is the tricky part that you've got to know by heart. And you would be explicitly showing that and sharing that with your child and go, yeah, I know it sounds like but actually in the word said, it is spelled AI. So that's the tricky part that we need to know by heart. So that's why we're going to write a little heart there. And then you might want to get your child to write it. If they don't want to hold a pencil or a pen, they could write it in some sand with their finger or with a paintbrush. There's many different ways that we can engage children in multisensory ways. And then reading it. Now, the magic happens when you repeat this process probably 4 times. It doesn't need to be all in one setting, but after 4 times of generally doing this with the one word, that is when it's actually connected into your child's brain. So rather than it needing to be shown 40 times on a flashcard, you're doing it by tapping it, mapping it, graphing it, writing it, reading it 4 or 5 times over, and it is going to be more likely to have anchored into your child's brain. So sound mapping is really the go-to way of learning those tricky words. And the reason that we want to teach children how to decode these tricky words is because they do make up such a large portion of text. And if we have learned them in a multisensory way, then it just takes up so much less brain capacity for children to be able to read. Because if you fast forward to when they are actually reading sentences, then we would be working on something called fluency, which is talking about like the pace of reading. So that's why this is a beginning step to help them on their way. So let's revise the 5 steps. So we've got step number 1, willing parent. Woohoo! Yes, you are. Now, number 2 is those pre-reading skills, thinking about, expanding your child's oral language and vocabulary and those conventions of a book. Words go from left to right, top to bottom. Here's the front cover, back cover, spine, etc. Alphabet sounds, having a bank of learning those alphabet sounds first. Phonological awareness, things that you can do just with your ears, even with your eyes closed. Those activities, syllable tapping, and using our body to count those syllables and hearing sounds, counting words in sentences. And then also blending those letter sounds together. So that is step number 5. To get started on those to jumpstart your child's reading success. Now, you really need all 3 wheels for a tricycle to be moving. You need ready-to-go scripts, plans and activities, and trustworthy training, as well as some ongoing support for the inevitable roadblocks and challenges. So I just want you to imagine for a second, what would it feel like if your child was reading? If you taught your child, how would it feel for you if you taught your child to read, they read a word that you taught them? I think a poll just popped up. You can pop an answer in there, 1 word or a couple of words. How would it feel to teach your child to read? Just imagine that for a second, because I know how special it is when I've taught my son, even if it's just something about how to open a container or whatnot, how much joy and pride I feel and excitement. I think I just feel excited when my child learns something that I have taught them. It is a very, very good feeling. It's so possible. Think about how much you have already taught your child up until today. Okay, I will end the poll. Okay. All right. How do I get, don't you love fun things? I can't get it off my screen now. Don't know if it's on your screen. Oh dear. Okay. There we go. Okay. So imagining your child reading. Now, I have a solution for you. Now, if you found some great value from this webinar today, I am hosting from the 28th of February a Reading Foundations course. And I have a special offer for you today that there's a one-time code that you can receive 20% off. Now it is, so it's going to be 4 live group 60-minute Zoom calls. There will also be pre-recorded videos to refer back to with me actually teaching children one-to-one like it would be in your home, these valuable concepts that you can refer back to. There will be a private Facebook group that you can connect with other parents in, that will be in the group, and it will just support you in those inevitable roadblocks. There'll be downloadable resources ready to go for you. So there is just no extra thinking. It's just print and go, or have them digital for you as well. Now, I think let me just check that date. I've got 2 different dates. Is the 27th or 28th? Tuesday the 27th. Sorry, I have said 28th, I think, out loud. So after this webinar, I will be sending you an email. Reading Foundations course is here down the bottom. So check out that one in your inbox, and that will also have the code for you. So please let me know in the chat box if you have any questions, whether this is about the course or about any content in the webinar today. Please, I'd love to hear from you. Now, this course is going to be right for you if your child is learning alphabet sounds and high frequency words. You know, if you found that you resonated with the steps today and thought, yes, this is the sort of where my child is at, they're not yet reading, they are still learning their alphabet sounds and beginning to probably learn those high frequency words, or they're blending those letter sounds together, or you haven't started at all and you go, this is, my child has just started school, then this is going to be exactly what you are needing to do. So if you're willing to teach a child for at least 5 minutes, I would say 4 times per week. You know, if it was any less than 3, that's then less than half of the time during the week. So I wouldn't want to lose that momentum. But, you know, from that phonological awareness step, I'm all about quick, easy, and fast things that you can do on the go, at the breakfast table, in the car as well. Obviously, there will be some things that you would need to do with, say, a whiteboard and whiteboard marker, but just simple things that are going to be fast and effective, that are brain-friendly strategies and playful ways that your child can learn. So if you want ready-to-go scripts, activities to get your child learning to read fast, I just urge you to join me. I'm so grateful that you came along today and stuck around and listened. I'm going to be sending that course link to you. And the webinar bonus, which is, let me see if I can put it in the chat. Let me see if I can put it in there. If I can't work out how to put the thing in the chat, I will email it, the document to you. Okay. So let's go to the Q&A. Q&A. All right. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the thing. All right. So how do you check if your child knows the start of a sentence, paragraph in a book? I read to him every day and point at each word as I'm reading. All right. I'm just reading it again. How do you check if your child knows the start of the sentence? I think it just goes back to those conventions of a book and pointing with your finger, and it will sound clunky, but actually modeling it to them over and over again, and just working out, focusing on that front cover, back cover, where's the spine, and talking out loud what your brain is actually doing, because your child is just starting from scratch and they don't know what you have learned all over the years of your life. So you've really got to step it out for them. So really just be explicit and know that, yes, it can be really frustrating, but have that infinity symbol in your mind of just that constant repetition, over and over again of you modeling explicitly and talking out loud. So using your words, but also your actions to show what you're trying to teach them and trying to incorporate playful ways. So how do we make sounding out syllables fun? I've tried playing this game by having my son choose a word by looking at items around the room and then tapping on his knee the syllable. He loses interest quickly. Okay. Well, I would just follow his interests. So I love that you've said he chooses, he looks around the room at an item. You can do things that, like, say you're in the car or having breakfast, something that you're looking at or eating. And I think that sometimes they lose interest because maybe we've got to follow their interest. So there's got to be some buy-in from them. And also, I think using things that so they're interested in, it could be a toy that they like, a character from a show, or something that they are looking at, being a little bit fun, being a little bit silly. That could be putting on a different voice, tapping their body, who can do it fast, let's do it, do a breakfast. Okay, can you do it faster? Breakfast, and putting that energy, enthusiasm in it, because they will pick up our energy. If I'm leaning back and I'm going, all right, come on, let's do it. Breakfast. How many? Breakfast. But if I sat up straight and had a smile on my face and was sort of interested, engaged, breakfast. Okay, can you do it faster? Adding it, putting that energy, enthusiasm, and making it a bit of a game and following their interests is really powerful. Are most Queensland state schools using the science of reading approach when teaching reading from 2025? I don't believe so. No, I think that I would hope that a lot of them are going to be changing this reform, and I think that the media pressure is definitely going to cause a big inquiry, which so it should. But I know that I've taught in Queensland state schools, and I find that probably more that ones that are independent have probably had more sort of autonomy and ownership over things and have probably put things in place, and used, what's called like decodable readers is something to look out for. But it is definitely something that is going to need to change quickly. I don't believe that there's any sort of reform that's happening as of yet. No. So I can't say that 2025 is, yep, no, they're going to be using the science of reading. Okay, my child is in kindy. Is the course appropriate for my child who's turning 4 in a couple of months? Is there a course to advance? No, I think that it's a really good opportunity to be practicing and learning these foundational skills prior to school. I mean, it's not absolutely necessary, but one of my best friends, I was talking to her the other day, her girl's in kindy in Queensland, so she's turned 4 a few months ago. And she said, Zoe, I think my girl wants to start reading. She asked me what everything says, point to this letter. That's an indication that her child is interested, and we've got to follow those interests as well. Some children who may be in kindy or turning 4 in a couple of months may not be interested at all. And, looking at a letter on a page is not something that they are going to be ready for. It might be in 6 months' time. But I would say, yes, it's absolutely appropriate. I would say this course would be appropriate for, I would say 3 to, 5.5, 6. But I think between 4 and 5.5 is a really great time to be doing it, particularly children who it's all about learning those alphabet sounds, learning how to decode words and blending and that phonological awareness, because they are really the foundational skills. When children haven't learnt them correctly, that's when things really trip them up. Please feel free to add in any other questions if you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. I'm just so incredibly grateful for you coming along. Please send me a message on Instagram and let me know what your biggest takeaway was. I would be so grateful to hear from you and to connect with you. I read every single comment, every single message. So please let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. And be sure to look out for the replay link and the link to the Reading Foundations course in your inbox. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to end the meeting now if there's no further questions. And I thank you all for coming along today. Thank you so much.